Good morning, everyone. It's Lynn Dunn from Stamtastic Designs. Thanks so much for joining me today. So, I'm playing around with the Pretty Pumpkins bundle again, except for this time I have some pretty pumpkins in some non traditional colors. So, I was just inspired by some of the designer paper in the Harvest Meadow DSP pack. And so I thought I would create some pumpkins in some non-traditional colors. So good morning, everybody. So these are the cards that we're going to make today. And they feature the Sahara sand and some pool party, and then some of the designer paper, and then my little white pumpkins too. So here is the stamp set that I'm using. It's called Pretty Pumpkins, and there's a variety of awesome little images in here that you can use in your stamping, in your card making. And then it also has a coordinating die set called Detailed Pumpkins Dies. And so I'm using a lot of the die cut images, this pumpkin, and then this real detailed pumpkin in my card making today. So good morning. Good morning. So these are the cards that I'm going to show you how to make. And if you are just joining me, I am using some non-traditional colors. So this is Pool Party, and then I have my little white pumpkins and then some Sahara sand. So those are the three main colors that I'll be using to create the cards for today. Good morning. Good morning. So let's start. I'm going to move some of this out of the way here. Let's start with this one. So these particular cards, I just love the little die cuts. So I thought I would create some cards with these little die cut shapes. So this is one of the dies from that Pretty Pumpkins set, the Detailed Pumpkins dies. And this is another one of the dies. So they work really well together, of course, with your stamped images. And I just stamped one of the pumpkins on a plain scrap piece of white cardstock using Pool Party ink. So actually, that's this particular image. So I just stamped that using the Pool Party ink, and then I just cut it out with the coordinating die that comes in the set. So there's a die that cuts this out. So this is the first card that I have for you. So I started out with a 5 1/4 by 4 inch piece of white cardstock. So the first thing I'm going to do is just stamp that greeting up on top. So I'm just using Sahara sand ink. And we'll get it right in there. And then the next thing I did is just took those pumpkins and just layered them together across the card front here. So what I'm going to do is I did my usual paper tearing. So this actually was a 1 by 5 1/4 inch piece of Sahara sand cardstock. So I just tore it in half. The one half I used on here, this is the other half. So I'll use this one on here. So this is going to go on the bottom, and I'm going to kind of use it as a guide to start adhering my little pieces, my little pumpkins. So let me grab some glue here. I'm going to move this out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. Get some scrap paper. There we go. So I like to use my glue. Well, if it comes out, I like to use it. I like to use my glue with a sponge when I'm using these detailed dies. So I have a little sponge that I use over and over again. It's a little sticky. So the first thing I'm going to do is add some glue to this little pumpkin. And you just need to dab just a little bit just to kind of hold down some of the main parts of the pumpkin. And so this one's going to go right on this side. Now you can use adhesive sheets too if you want to put some adhesive sheets on your Sahara sand cardstock. And then when you cut out this image, you'll have the adhesive already on it. So you can do that too. So see, this is going to go right across the bottom here. And then the next thing I did, I just took my little pumpkin shape And this pumpkin I didn't cut out very well. So, so we're gonna use it here, and I can kind of tuck it. I have to grab some more dimensionals. Hang on a second, guys. My dimensionals aren't coming off my sheet. There we go. So the next thing I have is my little stamped image. So this is the pool party. So you can see I didn't cut it out exactly perfect, but that's okay. Nobody's going to notice because we're going to tuck it right in here. So no one will notice except for you guys because I just told you. And then I'm going to add a couple dimensionals to the back of this little pumpkin. I'm just going to cut them in half. So let's see, I want them on this side. So part of this pumpkin will overlap onto this other pumpkin. So I only want dimensionals on one side. And then maybe a little bit in the middle here. So I just cut up my dimensionals. For some reason, they're not coming off my thing today. All right, there we go. And then we'll just add a little bit of glue to this side, just a little. And then we'll tuck this one under here as well. So I kind of use this little piece on the bottom as a guide. And then this will just adhere using a little bit of glue. Oh. You could pop it up with dimensionals too. So that little torn piece is just going to go right across the bottom like that. Get this out of the way. So we'll just give it a second. Hopefully it'll stay on. And then I just took a little bit of linen thread and just tied it around the bottom. So I like to wrap it around twice. And then I give myself just a little bit extra to tie it. All right, I'm gonna scoot this up a little bit. So I'm going to tie it off to the side, but then I'll show you how to scoot it over to the center. So I just tied a double knot or a knot, and now I'm just going to create the bow. And you don't have to add this little piece if you don't like tying bows. You can just leave this part off. There we go. Okay, so now I want this kind of in the center, so I'm just going to bend my card a little bit, and hopefully I can scoot this over. It worked yesterday. Let's do it this way, so I got a little bit of room. Oh, I must have glued it. All right, well, if you can't scoot it over, all else fails, take it off and scoot it over. You can just bend your cardstock and put it back in there. Best laid plans. There we go. That's close enough to center. And then we'll just trim off these little extras. So even if you don't get your bow exactly where you want it, you can just either scoot that over or just move it over a little bit, get it where you want it. And I'm going to add a little glue dot just to hold this down. So I usually add just a little glue dot right behind the knot. And it's stuck to my finger. There we go. There. Whew. Okay, so now I'm going to add just a couple little, these are those brushed metallic adhesive dots. So I'm just going to add a couple of those on the bottom. Just to kind of dress it up a little bit. So there's that. And then we'll bring our card base over. So this is just the standard card base. This is the 5.5 by 8.5, scored in the middle at 4.25. And then you can glue this right down, but I'm going to add some dimensionals and pop it up a little bit. I find that, you know, when you're using ribbon, or in this case, some of this linen thread, it doesn't necessarily lay as good. Let's see, put that there. So we'll just pop it up a little bit. We'll add another one here, and we'll throw one right here. So this will give your card a little bit more depth and dimension too. Oh boy. These dimensionals don't like me today. I love dimensionals, but they're not liking me today. Can't get them off. There we go. All right, so we'll add this to our card front. And there you go. Cute little card. And so layering like this is just a really fun way to use these pumpkins. Just layer them all together and just create a really nice look. And then on the inside, you can add some of your leftover scraps. I like to use my leftover scraps on the inside of the card to decorate that up. So that's the first one. And then this next one is another type of layering for these little pumpkins. So let me grab some of my stuff here. So I started with the same thing, the Sahara sand cardstock, just that standard card base. And then this time I did the detailed pumpkin in the pool party cardstock. So we'll put that on the back there. And then I'm going to add some dimensionals real quick to this. I'm pretty much using the same type of detailed pumpkin here with the pool party ink. So I have that one. And then this time I have a white pumpkin instead of the Sahara sand. So I'm going to add my dimensionals and then I'll show you how to put the rest of this together. For some reason my dimensionals are not peeling off of my thing very easy today. It's only because I'm live, you know, that's why it's doing that. Because normally I don't have trouble. Okay, so this time what I did is I just cut a 1/2 inch wide by 4.25 inch piece of the designer paper. So this is one of the patterns that's in the Harvest Meadow DSP pack. And the color here is actually mint macaron, but it goes well with the pool party. So for some reason, my mint macaron ink is really dark. It almost looks like garden green. So I decided to go with pool party. So I'm going to add this little detailed die first. So let's bring this over here. Get some glue on it. So I just like to use my designer paper kind of as a guide. So if I want my paper right about there, oh no, I stuck this to my finger. And then I want my pumpkin just above it. So I'll add that little guy. And then we'll go ahead and add the paper right over the top. The glue is not cooperating today. We'll add that right over the top. Oh, you know what? Before I do that, that's okay if the glue's there. Before I do that, I want to add this white piece of torn paper. So I have my little torn paper here. So again, it's just a 1 inch wide piece of white cardstock that I tore in half. So it's 4¼ inches long. It's the same length as as your card front. It's the same width there. So I tore it in half. I wanted to adhere it first to this designer paper. And now we'll add this to the card front. Boy, you'd think this was my first time doing a live. Can't get it together today. Okay, so there's that one. And now we'll add our little pumpkin here. So we'll offset that one a little bit. And then we'll add our little white one. And I'll add a little bit of glue here. And then we'll add our white one over this direction. There we go. Let's get this out of the way here. And then I just have my little linen thread. I took 2 pieces of linen thread, tied it together to create this little bow. And now I'm just going to adhere it to this pumpkin with a little glue dot. So it gives it a really nice little look there. And then the last thing I did is just took my one of the greetings. So where'd my stamp set go? Let me show you. So this is the so thankful for you greeting. So what I did is stamped this on a piece of Sahara sand cardstock, just using Sahara sand ink. And then I just cut out the so thankful and left the rest. And so I'm going to use this so thankful right on our card. So I'm going to add a dimensional, well, let's see, I'll put it right there. And then we'll put a little bit of glue here. And this will just go off on the side here like this. There we go. And now we'll add a couple more of these brushed metallic dots. I'm just going to grab some of these. And that's it. Cute. So that's what it looks like. So it's pretty simple. And you can do this if you don't like the non-traditional colors. You can use the regular traditional fall colors. So that would look really pretty in the traditional fall colors. And then on the inside, I just added a little pumpkin and some designer paper just to kind of decorate the inside. So that is the second card. And then this last one has a lot of layering. So I'll show you how to do this, but it's the same concept. So I was just playing around with a variety of different card ideas. So this one, I actually started with a piece of white cardstock. So we're going to cover the entire piece of white cardstock. It's just easier to adhere all the different layers, even though you're not going to see the white cardstock here. So this is just that 4 by 5¼ inch piece. And then I just took a 2½ by 5¼ inch piece of designer paper, and we'll just adhere that right in the center. So there's just a little bit of a trick with this type of layering that I'm doing. So that's why I'm going to show you here. So we'll put that in the center. And then I took, here's my 1 inch wide, and this is 5¼ inches long. And so I'm just going to tear this. So I use the torn paper on the other cards too. So I'm just going to tear this in half, and we're actually going to use both of these. So the slower you tear, the more you get that worn look on the side there. So I'm going to adhere these so that my torn paper is facing my designer paper. And then I'm going to add this one on the other side. Okay. And then I took some of the other designer paper in the Harvest Meadow pack. And so these are 3/4 inches wide and they're 5 1/4 inches long. And so these are going to go on each side of our torn paper. And they're going to overlap onto the torn paper. So, and then we'll cover up that white cardstock. So you can see we're covering up the entire piece of white cardstock. And the white cardstock really just kind of serves as a guide for you. And then it's also helpful because then we can add our linen thread directly to this cardstock piece. Because with all these little pieces, you need it adhered to something so that you can add your pretty little bow across the center. All right, so I'm going to trim off the bottom here because they were a little bit longer. So if you ever have excess hanging over your cardstock, just trim it off with your scissors. There we go. All right, so that is our main piece. And then I just took a little bit of this linen thread and just wrapped it around. So we'll add a little bow. Squiggly. Let's do this. I like working with linen thread even though it's pretty squiggly. It gives you a nice look. I like that kind of rustic look, so linen thread works super for that. And then we'll just trim off some of this excess here. There we go. All right, so we can scoot this down a little bit. I think I put it on upside down, didn't I? Well, that's all right. We can turn it around. Today's live has lots of issues. Hang on one second. I'm going to turn this around. So if you realize that you put it on upside down, just scoot it off and turn it around. So you guys get all the fun stuff. I can show you how to fix all kinds of things. There we go. That's about where I want it, right about there. Okay. There you go. So if you put it on upside down, like I did, turn it around, and it works good. All right, so let's adhere this to the card front to make sure our card opens the correct way. So this time I'm going to adhere it down with some glue. So last time I used some dimensionals. This time I'll use just glue. Um, all right, so we're gonna hold this in place for just a moment, especially around this side. Nice thing about the liquid glue is it dries pretty quickly. So, all right, so now let me get some dimensionals on these while that's drying. Well, I hope you guys are having a good start to your Sunday. Mine is isn't starting out that great. Uh, no, it's fine. You guys know, right? You've gone through the same type of thing. So I bet you I put these on the wrong side again. Hey, caramba. We'll put one on this side. Okay, here we go. Let's put this on. We'll put our big pumpkin on first. So my big pumpkin just kind of goes right up to this line, right over it a little bit. Put that on first. And we'll put our smaller pumpkin on. This is done in white. So we'll put this little guy on right there. And then the last thing I did is just cut a 1-inch wide piece of Sahara sand cardstock and then just created a little banner on the side. I'm going to move my little pieces here. Hey. So I'm going to add my dimensionals right to my card because then hopefully it'll work better. Yeah. Oh, it's a good thing you guys like to have fun. Okay, so we'll add our little greeting right there. So I added my dimensionals to the card because then I know they're in the right place. Um, and they're not overlapping onto all of this. Because if I have dimensionals on this side of my greeting, it would be popped up too high because both of these are popped up, if that makes sense. So there we go. Yay, we finally did it. So let's bring this over. And let's add some little embellishments here. And then I think we've got it. 2 hours later, we've got it. So it wasn't that bad. Okay, so whew, there we go. That's the card. A lot of layers on that one. And then I added just some designer paper on the inside. So, all right, so let me bring these back so you can see them all together. So like I said, you can use the non-traditional colors. I like the white pumpkins. I think the white pumpkins are very pretty. And I think it just gives it a really elegant look when you use the white pumpkins in either like Sahara sand or crumb cake cardstock. It'll just give it a really nice look. But if you like the traditional colors, of course, you can do these designs just like I showed you. Just use the traditional colors. So use, some pumpkin pie, some crushed kiri, whatever colors you want to use. And of course, some different designer paper. So there you go, guys. We made it. I made it. All right. I hope you enjoyed these card ideas, and I hope you got some ideas for how to fix little mistakes like I made. Um, so obviously, there's no mistakes in card making, right? So at least I don't think there is. So, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed these card ideas. Have a great Sunday and a wonderful week, and I will have some more fun ideas for you next week. Take care, everybody.